Hi guys, welcome to a hazy morning here in the yard. I do love spending time here in the yard. There's a lot of cool people around, but I don't really enjoy sleeping aboard the boat while it's up on the hard. I don't know if it's the fact that the boat is at a bit of an angle or because it isn't moving like it usually does, but I keep waking up every few hours and that certainly isn't very comfortable. And so I found myself at 3 o'clock in the morning answering comments. But let's get started on today's list. Obelix is right there, and my mast is on the other side of that building. I figure it's easier just to shove everything I need into the car instead of going back and forth a bunch of times. And this, of course, is Obelix's mast. It's in pretty good nick considering it's 42 years old, but the running rigging and the standing rigging is just about due for an update. This looks a little bit dodgy, but it hasn't malfunctioned yet, and I'd like to stress that this isn't my handiwork. It looks like at some point someone tried to seal this up. This is silicone right here, but that seems quite strange because why would you want to have standing water inside your mast? The good news is that there's conduit in there for running cables, and that'll make what we'll do today a lot easier. Now, in all fairness, whoever made this rather dodgy looking connection, I actually think he's some kind of an electrician because I don't know what they're called in English, but these wires have these little doohickeys at the end of them, and that's something I know electricians do in a marine environment here in Denmark at least. Like I mentioned yesterday, one of my goals for today is to replace the VHF antenna and all the cable in the mast, but I've run into a little bit of a situation. I'd love to mount the new VHF antenna here or somewhere else on the masthead, but that's not going to be possible because it's going to be colliding with my Windex over here. So I think I'm just going to keep the old antenna and just replace the cable. Well, I'm 99% sure that it's the cable that's at fault anyways. This is the old VHF cable, and as you can see it looks a little bit dodgy. It's corroded in there. And I was actually very surprised to see that this type of connector was also supplied with the new cable I've ordered. It doesn't seem like all that good of a solution in a marine environment. But if you guys know of any other kind of connectors that are better suited for a marine environment, I'd love to hear about them. I hope I'll be able to run the new VHF cable just by taping it to the old cable. I've also included the wiring for the wind instrument and a line for any additional wiring in the future. Let's try tucking on this and see what happens. Ta-da! Look at what I found hiding under a piece of electrical tape on the old VHF cable. Yeah, I'm glad I'm replacing it. And of course I'd love to get some recommendations on what to do about this mess right here. One of the upsides about replacing the VHF cable is that I can now run a single cable all the way from the antenna and all the way to the radio, and that should help a little too. Now that I've run all the cables, the next step is to install the wind instrument, and I've chosen this one. I'll go into a little bit more detail about this particular instrument a little later on in the video. You're supposed to mount the wind instrument to the mast using these little bracket things here, but as you can see it doesn't really match the curvature of my mast. Ta-da! It's not a perfect fit, but it's a lot better. Ta-da! Well, not really. The stainless steel screws that was included with the wind instrument, well, I didn't have a drill that was large enough, but I decided to try anyways, and this is the result. And of course today's Sunday, so there's no way for me to get a hold of either a bigger drill or some other stainless steel screws. But that's okay, I still managed to run the two new cables and do the prep work for the mounting of the wind instrument. So once I get my hands on some stainless steel screws, I'm basically done. The car you just saw pull away were two of the other liveaboards in the marina, Camilla and Sebastian. They invited me over for dinner later today, and well, that's one of the good things about living in this marina. The neighbors are awesome. This view should be somewhat familiar from the video from yesterday. This is my bilge, and it's sort of separated into two parts. This forward compartment and then a aft compartment. Only there's a passageway underneath here. As I've mentioned before, I have a good amount of water entering the boat through the mast and ending up in the bilge. Now that's fresh water. That fresh water mixes with any salt water that might be in here. And I'm not really worried about the fresh water because I can deal with water entering the boat through the mast. That's not really an issue. If I have salt water in here, I want to know. So what I'm going to do is I'll separate these two parts of the bilge. And then I'll put a small automatic bilge pump in this part of the bilge, and that'll then drain any rainwater overboard. That way this should be squeaky dry, and if I see any water in here, I'll know that it's something I need to take a closer look at. It makes a lot of sense for me to take care of this right now. Jökull isn't aboard the boat, and I need to paint the area of the bilge where the log was mounted anyways. So if I glass this today, then in a few days I can just prime the entire bilge and it'll look amazing. I hope this damp towel will take care of some of the dust. Safety be damned! Well, it looks like the towel helped a little bit. A few months back, Peter from blackbearboatingandleisure.com sent me some products for me to test out, and among those products were these wipes, and I've become real addicted to these. Well, not in the sense that I inject them or sniff them or something, but just that they're real convenient to have around. I've used them for lots of things. Prepping a surface for epoxy is one of them. For me to be able to lay out fiberglass, I need some sort of backing, and for that I'll use a piece of cardboard inside a plastic bag. And there we go, that should be watertight. I'm starting to run out of daylight, and I need to be over at Camilla and Sebastian's boat in about an hour. I promised you guys a little bit more detail about the wind instrument I've purchased, and I'm kind of running out of time, so this is just gonna be the Cliff Notes version. It's from a British company called NASA Marine. Now they make decent quality but also very affordable marine instruments. When you buy something from them, you know you're not getting raked on the price like you probably are at Raymarine or Garmin or some of the other larger brands. The wind instrument I've purchased outputs NEMA data, which is gonna allow me to do all kinds of cool stuff, but that's for a later video. Now, for now, I'll just include a link in the description for NASA Marine's website. I prefer not to look like a bum when I show up at Camilla and Sebastian's boat. While driving 1 kilometer to grab a shower or go to the toilet is a bit of an inconvenience, it's totally worth it. I'm so glad I moved aboard the boat. I know I don't mention it in every single video, but I love being a liveaboard. But of course I only need to drive 1 kilometer to grab a shower because the boat is in the yard. In a few weeks I'll be back in the water and everything will be back to normal. I'm gonna head over to Camilla and Sebastian's boat, which is right behind me, so yeah, I guess that's it for this video, guys. See you! Jökull and I hope you've enjoyed this video. To be notified about new content, please click subscribe. If you're new to the channel, I suggest you check out the introduction playlist. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and feel free to leave a comment.